Soldiers have always been broke and horny, and they have always had admirers. There were a lot of soldiers to admire around the time of World War II. When Pearl Harbor was bombed, 15 million American men were torn from the arms of their wives and sweethearts and mobilized for duty. About half of them were drafted right off the farm, most of the others from small towns. When they got to the big cities, they headed straight to the entertainment districts where the USO clubs were situated. There they found friendly strangers, happy to start up a conversation, offer them a cigarette, and buy them a beer. During the war years, Tennessee Williams was a regular visitor to Times Square. In his memoir, he recalled making what he called very abrupt and candid overtures to groups of sailors and GIs. The overtures were phrased so bluntly, he said, that it's a wonder they didn't slaughter me on the spot. They would stare at me for a moment in astonishment, burst into laughter, huddle for a brief conference, and as often as not would accept the invitation, going to my partner's village pad or to my room at the Y. The pictures you see here were made in the 1950s by the Los Angeles photographer Pat Milo to be sold as prints for collectors. I can't show you complete photo sets because of YouTube's terms and policies. Soldiers were very dashing in the 19th century. For instance, consider these verses by Karl Heinrich Ulrichs, the first gay activist. Ulrichs was German and lived from 1825 to 1895. He had a special admiration for hussars. In standard 19th century order of battle, hussars were light cavalry, deployed for skirmishing and scouting. They carried swords and rode fast horses, and they wore lots and lots of braid and buttons on their uniforms. They were very dashing. Ulrichs wrote verses about hussars in a high romantic style. Dear to me down to the heart's depth, dearest of all, are the young steel-thewed, magnificent soldiers, be it the massive form of a black-browed, insolent guardsman, or a blue-eyed hussar with a down new-fledged on his firm lip, who with clanking spurs and martial tread when they meet me, know not how goodly they are, the sight of them how overwhelming. For Jenny June, it was infantrymen. She found them the easiest of conquest. Jenny June was an androgyne, a woman's soul trapped in a man's body. Her preferred word for herself was fairy. She lived in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, active mainly in New York. She published an autobiography under the pen name Ralph Werther, but at Fort Totten, her name was Jenny June. Fort Totten now is a city park in Queens, but in Jenny June's day, it was a bustling army post guarding Long Island Sound. It had a detachment of several thousand men and one Jenny June. This is one of her observations. Soldiers lead comparatively idle lives and also monotonous lives, and these two conditions add to their susceptibility to the wiles of a fairy. Jenny June did what she could to liven up their monotonous lives. She estimated that she conducted flirtations with at least 2,000 soldiers and went all the way with 400 of them. This is what she says about soldiers and fairies. A man serving at one of those forts told me that common soldiers often speak with one another about their fairies. Whenever any one of the former appears with a new watch, ring, etc., a common query of his buddies is, "Did your fairy give it to you?" 7 out of 10 common soldiers appear exceedingly glad to have a prosperous young androgyne in their midst, particularly because he showers them with gifts and entertainment. The men at Fort Totten fielded a football team, and when Jenny June attended their games, she was so popular that the team would cheer her. Eventually, she became a legend at army camps up and down the eastern seaboard. The Royal Foot Guards wear outrageous bearskin hats, and the Horse Guards wear pointy helmets. Their job is to protect the royal residences. J.R. Ackerley, the distinguished London literary editor and writer, in his memoirs tells of many encounters with the military. Here is what Ackerley said about the men of the Household Guard. His Majesty's Brigade of Guards had a long history in homosexual prostitution. Perpetually short of cash, beer, and leisure occupations, they were easily to be found of an evening in their red tunics, standing about in the various pubs they frequented over the only half pint they could afford, alert to the possibility that some kind gentleman might appear and stand them a few pints, in return for which, and the subsequent traditional tip, a pound was a recognized tariff for the foot guards then. The horse guards cost rather more. They were perfectly agreeable to, indeed, often eager for, a bit of fun. They were young, they were normal, they were working class, they were drilled to obedience. If grubby, they could be bathed, and if civility and consideration, with which they did not always meet in their liaisons, were extended to them, one might gain their affection. Lytton Strachey once concluded a letter to Ackerley by saying, "Give my regards to the Army, the Navy, and the police force." So far, we have been hearing just what the civilian admirers have to say about these encounters, and nothing from the soldiers. James Jones describes the soldier's point of view in his famous novel, From Here to Eternity. Jones was a serious novelist who cared about the truth, especially the truth of a soldier's life. In World War II, he was a company clerk with the rank of corporal, and when he became a writer, he told his editor that he was writing with real honesty. "I use only those things I have experienced myself, and those told me by men in my old company," he said. But that was more honesty than the publisher wanted, so the editor had to blue pencil large chunks. Now Jones's daughter, Kaylee Jones, has released copies of the mutilated typescript. The expurgated version is the one that was published and turned into a famous movie with Frank Sinatra as Private Angelo Maggio and Montgomery Clift as his buddy, Private Robert E. Lee Pruitt, a good old boy from the South. Let's have a look at some of the part that got cut out. It is payday, and Maggio and Pruitt are getting drunk. They have a special code. Booze is preparation, and drinking is inducing. The problem is they are running out of money. But Maggio knows where they can get some more. You can see what Jones originally wrote. "Why don't you come out to Waikiki with me later on? This 1350 will not last forever." "Maybe I will after we induce some more. I never did like queers. Every time I get around them, I want to punch them in the head." "Oh, they all right. They just peculiar is all. They maladjusted. Besides, they'll buy you preparation all night long, just to get to blow you. That's a lot of preparation, friend." "I don't like to be blowed." Angelo shrugged. "Oh, well, all right. I admit it's nothing like a woman, but it's something. Besides, old Hal treats me swell. He's always good for a touch when I'm broke. $5, $10. Comes in handy the middle of the month. Comes in handy payday," Prue said. Angelo laughed. "This is the first time I've been down payday. But I still don't like to be blowed." Maggio explains to Pruitt that all he has to do is get drunk and stagger home to escape unwanted attention, and he expresses his own attitude. "Only reason I let Hal blow me is because I got a good thing there. If I turned him down, I'd blow it sky high, and I want to hang on to that income." And so the two go forth for a night on the town with the queers. The main romance in From Here to Eternity is straight, between Burt Lancaster and Deborah Carr in the movie. But the Sinatra-Clift relationship really steals the spotlight. A lot of things happen, and at the end, Sinatra dies in Montgomery Clift's arms. Sinatra won an Academy Award. Even before the First World War, the Astor Bar in New York was a gay gathering place. During World War II, it was famous for its gay scene. The Astor Bar welcomed gay patrons and gave them an entire side of the Oval Bar. Its reputation as a gay rendezvous and pickup bar became legendary. Cole Porter put it in his song, "Well, Did You Ever?" with the line, "Have you heard that Mimsy Starr just got pinched in the Astor Bar? Well, did you ever? What a swell party this is." If you wanted to get picked up or to pick somebody up, you went to the Astor Bar, but you had to go in a suit and tie. If a hustler wanted some decent money and a dinner, he went to the Astor Bar. On the street, $10 was a lot of money, but not in the bar. However, by 1948, the Astor Bar's wartime glory was passé, according to Soissons Nerf's Gay Guides for 1949, and action had moved to the Silver Rail at 43rd and 6th Avenue. Nerf said the Silver Rail had one of the largest Army and Navy representations in town. Soldiers and sailors were frequently featured during the glory years of physique magazines from the 1940s well into the 1960s. Most of the models do not look like regular beefcake specimens. They are not bodybuilders, and some of them seem even a little shy. Hustler culture, I believe, has mostly disappeared from the U.S. military today. During World War II, an Army private's base pay was $40 a month. Now it is more like $1,800 a month. The entire category of rough trade has pretty much faded away with the invention of smartphones and Grindr. But if you would like to learn more about the good old days, you can get a free download of the PDF GI Hustlers of World War II. I will put a link in the comments.